Hey, what's going on? My name is Isley, and last week I brought to you my first C++ program. It was just a small little program that ran Snake in the terminal window. So I've brought in SDL2, and then so that's what I've been trying to use as my graphics interface to start up an actual Snake game. So I'll just show you what I have been working on the last week, which learning C++ has been kind of infuriating. Luckily there's a lot of tutorials out there. I got on Reddit. There's a subreddit called Game Dev, and then from there I looked at Lazy Foo, his tutorials, which they helped out. They're pretty. I felt like it wasn't really made for beginners, kind of maybe a little more above that, but I was able to use that and then use the SDL2 wiki and kind of piece everything together that I needed. But this is where I'm at right now. So far I got a moving dot on the screen. It changes directions when I use my arrow keys, so I'm pretty happy with it. So next I'll have to put in collision for the side of the map being just the game window. I'll probably put maybe a user interface down at the bottom of the screen here with like a pause, restart, and a scoreboard. But this is kind of where I'm at right now. We still got to add the apple or the fruit, add the tail, but just kind of wanted to show my progress so far on it. And then, as always, I'm just going to run through the code, kind of just so I know what I did if I ever look back at this project, and then so you guys can kind of see what my thoughts were. Maybe you guys can even comment on it. Let me know if there was a better way to do it. It's pretty ugly right now, especially with the way my arrow keys are being used, because it's just right here in the main function instead of having like a user input. So, but let me just start up at the top. Just have all my include files, SDL image, because I'm using at first I was using a image for my snake, but then I decided to go with SDL2 allows you to render simple images. I think it's called render geometry. So that's what I was using. But so my constants are my screen size, so 60 by 900 for screen width and height. This is me just kind of initiating everything. You have to put null. At least that's what it said best practice for the tutorials was to put null here when you first started off. So initialize my window, the surface, initialize my render, did my load surface. This is so I can optimize the surface. So if you were to bring anything onto the surface, if there's a picture, every time it put it on the screen, it would have to actually optimize it for the screen. But if you go ahead and load it as a texture and optimize it, from what I was reading, that's kind of, it speeds the system up so it doesn't have to do it every time. And then I start off with my snake position and my snake speed, and I'll kind of get into what the snake speed would do, because you could really change it with snake speed. You know, you can speed up and slow down the snake there, but you could also do a sleep to speed things up or slow things down, which is actually what so I have both, and I'll show you what speed is used for. I have my game structure. Right now it's just my initial where I want that snake to start off. That's why the pink dot was in the middle of the screen when the game started. And then for my snake, it has an X and a Y that's coming into it, and I'll show you where that feeds in my main function. But all I'm doing is rendering the snake using my snake renderer, and then the color that I want my dot to be. And then this first one, so this first one's just setting the screen and clearing it out. So I'm clearing it out each time, so it if I don't clear it out here, you would just see a pink line move across the screen instead of you see the individual box. And then what we do is fill the rectangle, or the rectangle is what I'm just going to call it, the X, Y, and then the size of it, so 30 by 30 square. And then I draw it with a color. Oh, and sorry, this color is actually, I'm rendering the background color right here. This is the green color. So I'm clearing that pink render square off, but then I'm also initializing that render color to be the green background. And then for the snake, this is the pink snake, and then I put it onto the screen. Void close, so you want to shut everything down properly. So you want to destroy your renderer, you want to destroy your window, and then you want to quit out of SDL. So you want to shut everything down when you call the quit function. And then for my game screen, this one, if you take a look at the Lazy Foo tutorial, it'll go through this. But basically, it's checking to see if success equals true. Basically, if it cannot initialize, it's just got to get the error and then print that error for the user. And then otherwise, create the window, and then it's window position. It's undefined because I don't have a set spot I want it, so that's undefined. Window width and window height, we set that earlier, and then just show the window. And then if for some reason it couldn't create the window, or if the window is showing up as null, it would tell you what happened. So then that's what this is for. Otherwise, it's gonna get the window, and then it's gonna create the render onto the window. So I initialize the render on the window. And then for the surface, load surface, this is that optimization I was talking about. So it's gonna convert the surface so that everything we put on there is optimized. So it's not having to do it every time. It's just gonna run through it one time, and then it's good to go. Alright, so then the main function, this is where it got kind of crazy, but so snake velocity equals 1. So really snake speed, I'm actually going to take that out because it was something I thought I was going to need, but I do not need it. So I ended up going with snake velocity for 1, and then direction equals 0. So basically this is just saying, while not game screen, print failed to initialize. This is something that I was kind of working with. Don't need that anymore. So quit equals false. So basically while the event, so SDL event equals E, and then game structure, we already set that up. That's really just my snake position. So that's just calling the initial snake position. And then this is saying while the player hasn't decided to quit, switch through the event types. So switch event type if the case equals key down. Switch, so it's looking for the what the key is here, what the event key is. So SDL left, that's just left arrow, right arrow, up arrow, down. And then I went with direction 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then based off of that, it's going to break, and then it's going to come down to my if statements. So if direction equals 1, it's going to take that snake position .x, and it's going to subtract 1 from it constantly. So that's why I have it outside of my main loop, outside of this loop here, so that it just keeps doing it until you tell it to do something else. So then it's going to start subtracting 1 or add 1, and then it's going to minus 1 or add 1 to the y, and then it's going to feed that position into our snake. So that's giving us the coordinate of x and y. So then and then it's going to render, and then it sleeps for 4, and that's just to slow it down because otherwise the snake would be off the screen in a couple like half a second. So that's kind of what I have so far. With the snake position x and y, we'll be able to kind of use this to work our collisions once we start adding the fruit, and as well as pass this information to our tail when we start having more tail pieces. So let me know what you think, if there's anything I could be doing better, or if you have any questions. I'll try to answer them to the best I can, but I'll also drop the link to the tutorial I use and to the wiki page I was using to kind of help me out with the arrow keys. But hope you drop a subscribe, and hope to see you in the next video. My next update, I'll hopefully have some fruit and tail, and hopefully we can start working on windows, like different menus and stuff after that. That way I create a full complete game, because that's kind of the goal, is to just finish it all the way to completion, where you have a restart button, a win condition, or at least a win or loss screen, depending like how far you get in the snake game. If you're able to fill the whole screen with the snake, then that would be pretty cool to be able to have a high score or something for every time that you play. So that's really it. See you next week.